Ray Anyasi is one of Africa's most published authors with over 25 books, which include Ujasiri, Bloodline, Dickstown, A Postcard of Terror, Sorrows of Hoodie, A Perfect Suspect, and 17 Stories Awelle Forget to Tell Munachi. His writing influences majorly the extraordinary stories of ordinary people who have to confront monstrous challenges they do not orchestrate yet overcome. Ayansi's book, like Ujasiri, To Live Again, Broken Cloud, and Sorrows of Udi, has been translated into multiple languages like Spanish, Portuguese, and German. Sorrows of Hoodie has been adapted into both a comic series and a webtoon animation. He is a committee member of the Society of Authors in Scotland, festival director for Rayany Creator Film Festival, and editor-in-chief of Geek Digest magazine. And on today's episode of Author Interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy and excitement to have the impressive Ray Anyasi on the show today. How are you doing today, Ray?
I'm doing awesome. I'm doing good. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, really, my excitement that we are here to sit down across borders and have this conversation around your body of work, which I found to be quite impressive and well commendable. So, thank you once again for joining me today.
Pleasure is all mine, bro.
Yeah, yeah. So, Ray, we are going to get into the nitty-gritty of what actually inspired you to write to Ujasiri. But then
Mm.
you've been a writer now for the past 21 years, which I find to be quite amazing and quite awesome, really. And you've published multiple titles aside from Ujasiri. Now, I wanted to ask you, as my curiosity wouldn't allow me, what is your first creative spark as a writer? What is that thing that fuels you in to continue writing? Where do all of these things sprout out or, comes from, like a foundational source, I say? And how did you choose a title for this book? Why Ujasiri? I think I've got a lot of questions in there, really. Maybe you can take it
Yeah,
one
you
after
do.
the other.
Well, let me get to it. Start unpacking the different questions you've put into this one question. I'll start with Ujasiri and why the title. So Ujasiri, the book, the story is set in DRC and the chaos around the country, especially the issue and the crisis of Joseph Kony. If you could remember that particular strongman then
Mm,
back back in 2010, 28 down to 2012,
yeah.
thereabouts. So at that point in time, I happened to be an African, a sort of like a junior correspondent
Mm,
for the African region, writing for the New Yorker Times. So I did have a lot of assignments or responsibilities to write about things going on in Africa and in African communities that
mm,
have international ramifications with global politics. And then the DRC crisis, which Joseph Kony was at the center of, was the warlord who was causing all the trouble,
mm,
was one of the stories I happened to quite cover extensively. And it was in the process of covering those events, those crises, that it occurred to me that these people who I'm just writing about like a report, they are
yeah.
real humans. And I just thought to myself one day, like, so the news I get from my sources is like, oh, Joseph Kony's men attacked this village, they abducted children, they took women, they killed men.
Mm,
And I just asked myself one day, these people who these children is taken away, and sometimes it's, if some of the men survive it, when they recover from the attack, what do they do next? Do
mm,
they go home with their life, forget about their wives and the children they've taken away, and try to go on with the rest of their life? Or what would happen if a band of them just say, you know what, we're fed up, we're not going to take it, we're going to go after Coney?
mm,
So I just crafted a story. I built a story around that question. What if? What if a band of men who just
wow.
can't take it anymore, who know that there's no help coming from anywhere else, decide
Mm,
to take their fate in their hands and fight back? And that
Mm,
was where the story came from. And now, why the title Ujasiri? Ujasiri is the Swahili word for courage. As as far as I knew that at that time, the story was all about the courage of helpless men pushed
mm,
against the wall, trying to fight back
mm.
with the old disarray in their group, everything that happens to humans when they come together in a band for any purposes, it's happened to them, and so it was fitting to me. I mean, at that time, a few persons advised against using that title because it's not one of those words you put title you
Right?
can like it's not catchy. Like what's
Yeah.
that? I mean, but I thought to myself, like, for me, I was writing to tell a people's story. And
Mm,
it made sense to me to use their words to,
absolutely.
to title the story.
Interesting. It's beautiful using that word to
Yeah.
convey the story because it's skillfully relate and blends sweetly with the themes in the book. Quite interestingly and quite lovely. I love your take on that, really. Thank you for mentioning. And you know, Ujasiri is a story rooted in courage and resilience. The book
Yeah.
feels both deeply African and universally human in nature, to
Yeah.
me, my own opinion, actually. Now, I wanted to ask you, how did you balance local cultural identity with themes that speaks to readers everywhere, irrespective of borders, races, ethnicity, etc.? And also, were any of the characters in Ujasiri drawn from, say, real life people or experiences? I'm curious.
I think when I set out to become a writer, one of the tagline in my head about telling stories was telling compelling African story with a global appeal. And
Mm,
how I tend to achieve this is the thing is, no matter where we come from, no matter what part of the world we come from, as long as we are humans, there's this thing, there are common threads, common emotional and sentimental threads that connects us all. We all want something. We all want to be happy. We
mm,
all want to be loved. We all want to be safe. We all want to have a good, formidable hope for the future. We look towards the
yeah,
future to look
absolutely.
for a better future. And that's something we all want in life. So when I tell African stories, I want to show those uniquely African characteristics
Mm,
embedded inside the human nature, the global human nature, the universal human nature,
mm,
the need to be protected, the need to fight for what you want. And
mm,
it's something that anyone, anywhere in the world can identify with.
absolutely.
So that is what I try to do with stories.
That's an amazing one. I'd like you to show a copy of the book to the camera just so we can see what it looks like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a bit up, a little bit. How did
Okay.
you come up with this title? Because that looks like a male character, I'll say. Is that a character?
Yes.
Oh, would you
Yeah.
talk about the making of the cover if there's a story behind it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So this isn't the first cover we used for it. The first cover was a bit forgive me, I've forgotten what the first cover looks like. It's been so long. But this
That
particular
was
cover
fun.
has this particular cover has endured for several years. Like it's
Yeah.
never gonna change. But yeah, here's the story behind this cover. Or how I feel like this cover tells the story in itself. The main character, Joseph Dar, is the man whose son and wife were abducted after the LRA raid in his village, Sadi.
Mm,
And he went back with his best friend and met other men, and they teamed up together to go after Joseph Kony. Now, this man in this image, this is the image of a man, but he's faceless.
mm,
Now, I try. It for me, it sends it relates with the story, given in the sense that is a frame of a man, and his face does not matter because it could be any of us.
mm. Wow.
It could be anyone, anywhere in the world who who's whose life is torn apart, from whom something important has been taken.
Absolutely.
So his face could be anybody's face.
Mm,
He's just a man that needs to get his life back by all means necessary.
Oh, wow. That's an amazing answer you've got in there. Thank you very much for sharing. I appreciate that. And Ray, you've written across so many genres, from fantasy to thriller to poetry and even political commentary. What excites you most about moving between such different kinds of storytelling, such different kinds of genre and themes, etc., subcategories as well? And also, many of your stories focus on ordinary people caught and trapped in extraordinary circumstances. What draw you back to that theme again and again? And I think you mentioned you working as a researcher, etc. I think that was
Yeah.
perhaps one of the things. Let's see.
Yeah. So again, you tend to ask a lot of questions inside one sentence, and I kind of like it anyway. Let me start with the first one. What it feels like moving from genre to
Genre
genre.
to genre, yeah.
Now, when I came into writing, when I started writing, I was sort of an outsider in a sense.
Mm.
I didn't study writing. I
Wow.
didn't study literature. I had no idea what the industry looked like. I was confused, but I'm beginning to find out that that's how every new writer
Everybody
feels anyway.
started. Yeah.
Yeah, when they start out. But at that point, I had no idea what it meant to be, in a traditional sense, a writer.
Mm.
So I wasn't aware of this rule that says that well, you need to pick a niche, you need to pick a genre and
Right.
write in that genre in order to get your readers, in order to have an identity.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that rule. Nobody told me that, and I'm thankful for that. So
Wow.
when I started writing, and because all my life, even from childhood, I've read across a lot of genres.
Mm.
I've read every kind of stuff put out there. I read newspapers, I read novels, I read biographies and all that. So when I started writing, I wrote what I felt the particular story I'm thinking about would be better placed in. So if I think of a story, I just ask myself, could this be, how does it work? Is it
Does it
okay?
go?
This should be a mystery, a mystery book. I write the story like a mystery.
Wow.
If it sounds like just action thriller, I write it like an action thriller. If it sounds to me in my head like a fantasy book, I write it like a fantasy story. You get,
Mm.
I was never aware of any rule of this. You have to write in a one
Okay.
particular. So, 10 years down the line, I realized I've written like 15 story books in
Fantastic.
5 different genres.
Wow.
and
Impressive.
and I loved it. I mean, I loved it
Mm.
for myself. So sometimes right now in at this stage, I'm beginning to feel like, okay, I should just settle into just one or two. And I'm beginning to do that. But I still have this thing trying to get me to my early days, telling me, forget about it, write whatever you want to write. The world will
Mm.
be fine.
Wow.
Yeah. And to your second question of the common thread of theme around my books is telling stories that affect regular humans who need to confront a situation that is bigger than them.
Yeah.
They had no hand in creating it, yet they
Mm.
have to deal with it. I mean, it didn't occur to me quite early enough why that became a thing in my writing.
Mm.
But lately, I began to piece together events in my background in my childhood, why that might be, and it's beginning to make sense. Maybe if I tell you, it might not make sense to you, but yeah, it is anyway. And I'm gonna tell you a story. I don't know, you might be aware of it. Back in 1990, was it? Yeah, 93. And I was a kid in Lagos, somewhere around June. Abiola and Dufao were gonna have an election, presidential election, and at that time we lived in Lagos, and my parents were, should I say, self-employed. So it meant they had to go out to work every day.
Mm.
come in to earn a living. So if they can't go out in a day to work to their shops,
Yeah.
we don't get to have a living for the next day. And then the election was annulled. There was riots all over the place. Now, what it meant, yeah, there was violence outside and all that, and the country was like was on fire, literally. And but what it meant for my family was that my parents couldn't go out to earn a living.
Mm.
And it meant that
Yes,
the
no.
next few weeks was terrible for us.
Yeah.
And yes, the beautiful thing my parents did for us that I'm beginning to appreciate is the fact that they never shielded us from the reality of life.
Mm.
They never sugarcoated life for us. So
Interesting.
whatever they're going through as parents, they will tell you, hey, this is what's going on. Like, because I can't go out there, this is how the
Uh,
family, this is. So I kind of grew up being very exposed to the realities, the ups and downs
Very
of
good.
what life meant, what
Yeah.
it meant to live life. So at that point, it occurred to me that we had to maneuver a circumstance that we didn't create. My
Mm.
dad did not annul the election. He didn't ask this for this to happen. Yet
Oh,
he
goodness.
was needing to feed his family through
Mm.
this circumstance.
Okay.
And from that moment, even onwards, there kept popping up different scenarios and circumstances in our lives where he had to deal with issues that it's out of his we're out of his hands. We had to deal with them anyway. Like another one came out just a year after that. We woke up one morning, we had a landlord tell us, "Oh, guys, those days it was wild in Lagos, man.
Yeah.
Just the landlord just showed up one morning. I was like, guys, I just sold this house.
Mm.
I just sold this house, and
Unexpectedly.
the new owner needs you guys out of here by
I
next
mean,
week."
just like that.
Just like that. And my parents were like, "What? Come
Like,
on.
oh
Come
no.
on. We paid you rent to live for you here
Yeah,
for
they
the
were
next."
like, it's you
And I
guys'
was
cup
like, I
of
don't
tea.
know. I just saw this. You deal with it. And he just walked away, and that was it. And now
Imagine.
we had to find a house and relocate within 1 week.
Imagine that.
And now, again, another situation where I have to watch my parents deal with circumstances they
Mm.
didn't plan, they didn't orchestrate, yet they had to deal with it to move on.
Yeah.
And I think for the rest of my childhood into my adulthood, it began to make sense to me how humans, to a large extent,
Mm.
helpless in a world where something can just happen to you the next second and you never planned for it. It's not your fault that it's happening,
Yeah.
yet here you are and you have to fix it. You have to walk through it. You have to live through it. So I guess that's where the whole in my subconscious where it comes from to write
Interesting.
stories about people dealing with circumstances like that in their lives.
That's an amazing template, really. That's a beautiful techniques to storytelling, I'd say. Quite interesting and quite awesome. Thank you very much for sharing. I love those background stories. So relatable as a Nigerian. So
Yeah.
interesting and so real. Beautiful as well. Thank you for sharing. Now, I'd like to ask you, to Ray, when you sit down to start a new book, what usually comes first to you? Is it the plot or the characters or the themes you want to explore? And also, you've had works translated, adapted into comics, and even animation. How does it feel seeing your stories take on new life in different format, aside from books, into another format, etc.? How does it feel for you?
It feels surreal sometimes. The first time I saw the animation adaptation of Stories of Foodie, I was like, wow, this is interesting. I mean, it felt different. It felt good. It felt really good for me
Yeah.
to feel like I've come this far.
Wow.
Uh, However, I felt like it's not my work
Mm,
in a sense. Like, I looked at it and I'm like, good job, guys. I mean, I don't know what like, I don't know.
Interesting.
And though it's allowed me to enjoy it from an outsider's perspective.
Mm,
Yeah, but it just felt good to see it happen. Yeah, and to your question of what comes first when I
first.
writing, I think for me it's always a character. I always think character. I write stories around characters.
Mm,
I sometimes the stories themselves don't form until I have a character in my head. Like I know this character. It's like
absolutely.
if
Yeah.
I run into him in the bus stop, I would recognize him or her. It's the character. It's always the character. I I would confess to you, I do not to this point. I do not know what it means to write with a theme. I don't know themes.
Mm,
What it's vague to me. When
wow.
people talk about themes in books, I get the point, sort of,
Mm,
but I don't know how to work a theme into a book.
wow.
If it ends up being there, it's not intentional. I didn't think about it. Yeah, I remember having a book conversation after I released A Perfect Suspect, and the lady who just finished reading the book was talking about the female character and was like, "Oh, I like your idea of." How does she put it? Like the lead character Omar was talking to me about how the theme around female feminism and all that, and those are good. I love it. I liked that it
Interesting.
ended up being there. Where I was like, to be honest, I didn't put it there. I didn't know how it can.
Wow. Wow.
I just wanted to tell a story. I just created characters, and
Mm,
so themes are not something I think about when I write stories. I think characters. I think their story. I think what they go through. What are the challenge? What's in front of them? What do they have to deal with? And why are they wanting to deal with it? Why are they not giving up? Because it's easy to give up. So I think those are the two or three critical questions I ask when I start writing. Who is this character? What do they have to? What do they desperately need to deal with in this story, and why do they need to deal with it? Why won't they give up? Why isn't?
mm,
Because in life it's easy to give up. So why is this
absolutely.
character not giving up?
Mm, wow.
So those are the three major questions. Why are they not giving up? What do they want to achieve? And who are they?
That's an amazing statement you've made in there. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you mentioned that, you just let the work flows, not thinking quite initially that you have a team you wanted to add it. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know how it pop up in there. It just showed up on itself. That
Yeah.
sounds like a very funny statement for an author to make. Why you are the one that actually wrote the book? What an interesting answer, really. I love the sound of it. Thank you. Thank you. And apart from Ujasiri, do you have any other works? I know, of course, you do have quite a lot of other works, but if you can tell
Yeah.
us briefly about some of the other works you've published aside from Ujasiri or any one that you're currently working on.
All right. I do have a few copies of different.
Yeah, I would
All
like you
right.
to show to the
You've seen
camera.
Ujasiri.
Yeah.
This A Perfect Suspect is my
Mm.
latest work that was published in 2012. It's a crime thriller.
Wow.
Uh, 17 Stories Awelle Forgot to Tell Munachi is written like a poetry collection, but it tells
Ah,
the story along the thread. Like if you
interesting. I
go
love that.
each story, it's 17 different poems that
Oh,
connect each other into a full blown story. So
wow.
it's
I
you can
love
call it
that.
you can call it prose, you can call it poetry, depending on how you
Post
want to look at
poetry.
it.
Mm.
Yeah. This is to live again. It's probably the most emotionally connected book to me that
Wow.
I've written. It's the second book I ever wrote.
Wow.
Uh, and then Stories of Foodie, uh,
Mm.
maybe the most popular of them all. So those are the
I
one
can
I
see
have.
those film awards on top. Is that a film award
Yeah,
badge?
those are the film festivals where it was where
Oh,
where the animation series were recognized. So I thought I might as well use it on a book cover.
absolutely. It's a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Beautiful.
And so before this one, I have to say my very first book I wrote. which I started writing way back in 2006, thereabouts.
Mm.
It's interesting because it's the very first book I wrote. I published it 5 years after I started writing it. And
Wow.
it's called A Pool of Vampires. And it's a silly title. I
Wow.
had no idea what it meant. And I was very silly with titles there. It's believe it or not, it's a political thriller. It's supposed to be a political thriller, but I don't know why it's called Full of
Wow.
Vampires. I till this day I wish nobody will ever find it. But unfortunately, somewhere out there.
Wow. I mean, it's a beautiful thing actually, and yeah, I think there's something always quite particular about one's first work.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always have something quite particular about them, remarkable as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I still remember my own first work, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
that thing needed to be. I need to produce a second edition. I need to
Yeah.
unpublish it and republish it.
Republish
I've
it,
always thought
so nobody
about
will
it,
know what happened in the
and
first edition.
honestly, I've always thought about it. So sometimes when I go to my Amazon
Yeah.
dashboard page and I see somebody bought a crime for myself, I'm like, oh my God, they are
Oh my
buying
God.
this book.
Now they'll be reading.
I'll be like, oh my God,
Geek.
somebody is still buying this book. I should go and publish it and do another one for it. It's
And
a
because A Pearl of Vampire was in, I didn't publish it. It's another a publisher. The publisher who have refused to stop selling it.
wow.
And anytime, but the good, yes, the good thing for me is I published it before I took up Ray Anyasi
As a
as my
name.
main author name. It was written under Raymond Anyasi.
Oh, oh,
So that
wow.
was I used to hope that whoever reads it would be like maybe Raymond Anyasi is different from Ray Anyasi.
Wow, that's so fun. That's a funny statement. Thank you.
Oh
This
my
is really
God.
an amazing conversation, one that I love wholeheartedly. Thank you very much. And just in case we have some viewers who are currently watching this interview and would love to get a copy of any of your books, Ujasiri as well, on what platform are they available
Yeah.
on for purchase?
All my books are on Amazon. Every single book on Amazon is the most popular place where all my books are. Though there are other platforms where you can stumble into them, like maybe Apple, Google Books, or places like that. But
Mm.
Amazon is where you find everything that I'm most aware of. Because sometimes I Google my name and I see my books in some platform. I'm like, who put it there? Who's this? Like,
How does it get there?
how did he get here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know about those ones. Amazon is where I know I can see all my books there.
Interesting. And I left a link in the description part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Ray Anyasi book directly on Amazon, on Barnes& and Nobles, on his website, and also another platform. I also left a link to Ray's social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so much, Ray, for joining me today to sit down and talk about your amazing body of literature work. Thank you once again. This was really impressive.
Thank you so much, Peter. It was nice talking to you. I really enjoyed the
Yeah,
session.
my pleasure as well. Thank you.